In this video we're going to be looking at the JavaScript attacks section on DVWA. So this is the last section that we'll be going through, and as usual we've got our difficulty set to low to begin with, and we have a text box here that says submit the word success to win. Let's just try and submit success before we look into the help. See that we get invalid token. Alright, let's have a look at the help section. And it says here that the attacks in this section are designed to help you learn about how JavaScript is used in a browser and how it can be manipulated. The attacks could be carried out by just analyzing network traffic, but that isn't the point, and it would probably be much harder. Our objective is to submit the phrase success to win the level. It's not quite that easy. Each level implements different browser protections or different protection mechanisms. The JavaScript included in the page has yet to be analyzed and then manipulated to bypass protections. So we start off on the lower level. All JavaScript is included in the page. Read the source and work out what function is being used to generate the token required to match with the phrase, and then call that function manually. Alright, so let's view the page source. Let's actually, is there anything of interest here? Okay, so we can view the source in here. It's all client side, so we can actually, it shouldn't matter anyway, we can view it from either side. So we have it here, or we have it in here. Let's actually look in here because I was going to say it's color coded it a bit better, but it hasn't really. Okay, so we have this big obfuscated function. Let's not worry about that just yet because it looks like that's just been grabbed from this MD5 JavaScript MD5 code. What we'd be interested in here is our generate token. So let's work our way backwards. We start off with this token generation, and let's have a look actually what is our token. Let's check F12, is it? Oh, it's not in the cookies. It'll be, let's check. If we inspect the element, we'll see here there's an input ID token. It's hidden. Let's make it not hidden, so you can see our token there, and then we have the token value. Cool. So let's see how this token is generated. So generate tokens executed. It takes the phrase from document.getElementById phrase value. Just you can guess that this is going to be here, but if we didn't want to guess, we could go ahead and search in here and say, okay, here's the phrase field, ID phrase, and the value is currently change me. And it's going to take the word change me, and then it's going to set the element token, which is here, to equal the value of change me after it goes through these functions. So we're going to run rot13 on phrase, and then we're going to MD5 the result of that. So let's trace our way back. We have rot13 phrase, so we're passing change me in here. This is essentially doing a rotation of 13. So you move, if the letter is an A, you'll move it 13 positions forward. If it's B, 13 positions forward, etc. It's 13 is the most popular because there's 26 characters in the alphabet, so that allows us to use the full space. But you could have a different rot here. It could be rot 2 or rot 3 or whatever. And that's what's happening. And then we're getting the MD5. So if we submit the value change me, let's submit that again. You got the phrase wrong. Let's have a look in burp suite. Let me go back and add this to the scope, and then say we only want to filter. We only want to intercept things that are in scope, and we only want to display in scope items. And now we can see that there was a post request there. It sent off this token and the phrase change me. Now the token, let's see if we take change me here, and let's go to CyberChef. Let's search for the mining Bitcoin Cash. Okay, let's search for a rot13. Let's paste that in, change me. So it runs rot13, which gets us this. Now let's also do the MD5. And you can see then the MD5, it results in this hash, which is the same hash that we have here. So the issue is that the the hash is assigned, this token value is assigned with the value that's put in here. If we update this value and say success, nothing actually changes here. We submit that again. Let's go to our burp suite. We submit it, and it's submitted our new phrase, but it hasn't submitted our new token. Let's just try the default. See, we've got the phrase wrong. So that it didn't find a problem with the token, but it found a problem with the phrase. So we could say here success. We want a rot13 and we want an MD5. It'll give us this result. And now if I say success, and let's make this not hidden, and let's paste in our new token and submit, and you'll see we get well done. So that's one way we could do that. Another way we could potentially do it is we could say success, and we know that the token is generated whenever the page is loaded, but we also know from our source code that these functions are available to us. So this generate token is going to take the phrase value, it's going to rot13 it, and then it's going to MD5 it. So why don't we just call generate token when we oh, what's this? When we have a new phrase in here. So we've got a new phrase in. Let's go to our console and let's say generate token. It generates a token for us, and in fact what we should have done there is let's inspect element. Let's set this to not hidden. Let's put this back to change me. Go back to our console and say, do that again, generate token. You see it's generated this token. Let's change this to success. And then say generate token, and it's generated the token again. So that's two different ways we could have done that to solve it. We could also, if this was a more complex problem, we might want to try and work through the debugger. So let's take a look at that. So if this scenario had been a more complex example where we couldn't easily determine exactly what was going on statically, the debugger could be useful. So we could, if we select the debugger tab on the developer tools, and we select whatever script we want to debug, we know that this is in the main page in the index, so open that up. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And if we scroll down, we'll find our code, and we can decide basically here where do we want to break. So in this case, I'm going to say let's do Control and B here. You can see it's set up a breakpoint, and it's actually added a little breakpoint marker in between each separate action or function call here. So we could just break at the main, we could just break at this line, and then once we get to this line, we can decide, alright, what do we want to step into, what do we want to step over, what do we want to just play through, or we could say, well, actually we're not interested in the first two parts of this line, which we're probably not. We're interested in these functions, the MD5 and the rot13, so we could just have those two ticked. In this case, it doesn't really matter. We're going to just take a quick look and see what's going on with them all anyway. So you can see all four of those are running, are set to break. We can also set up watch expressions here as well. Let's with that done, let's try to hit submit with the change me value in there. You can see we've paused on the breakpoint, so it's still loading. You can see it's still trying to load up there, and it's waiting for us to do something. Now you can see it's loaded the you can see it's loaded the phrase change me, and it's showing us that that's the phrase variable. We now have the document. We can highlight that, and we can see all the different properties about the document, and then it's getting the token value. It's assigning the token value to be equal to this value here. So we're not interested in this bit. Let's hit play. You see it's got to the second bit, get element by ID. We're not really interested in that either. Let's hit play again. Now you'll see it skipped the MD5 and went to the rot13 because this is the order that it's actually being executed in. We work from inside out, so the rot13's being performed on the phrase, and then the MD5's being performed on that. So the phrase is change me, and it's being passed to this rot13 function, which we might want to, let's say it's not rot13, it's something else, it's not named based on what it does, and we want to try and find out what's it doing. Well, we would say let's step into that, or F11, and then you can see that the line's gone to here. The input variable is change me, and then it's running input replace, so the change me dot replace, and performing this action here to do the rot13. So we can go through this and say let's also step in here and see what's going on, and we can see that it's passed in this, it's performing this function on C, which in this case is a capital C, And if we step in again, we'll see that the return value is a capital P. So it took in the capital C and it returned a capital P. Now if we go to our rot13 from earlier, you might remember, let's change this back to change me. And let's pause our MD5, so we're just doing the rot13, and you can see that capital C was changed to a capital P. Similarly, if we say again, let's step in, we'll see that the second letter being passed in is a H, and it's returning a U. You can see there, and it's basically going to go through this. So let's step over, or F10. If we step over, it gets to the end of this function, and the input was change me, and we can now see that the return value is this rotated value. What we could potentially do is, let's hit play again. It goes back and it's going to do it's going to get the MD5 value of that as well. Let's hit play. What I'm going to try and do is see if we can submit that again. We get a breakpoint. Let's hit play. Let's hit play, and now it's going to do the rot13 on this phrase. The phrase has changed me. Let's change the phrase. Okay, interesting. So apparently you can't modify these variables. I thought you used to be able to do it, but maybe it was just Firebug. But I did find a year and 6 months ago, how to modify in Firefox Developer. Used to have this feature was removed when the debugger was re-implemented, and people just suggest doing it in the console, which seems absolutely crazy to me. I mean, okay, but yeah, let's see if we can go back here and set phrase equals success. There we go. Go back to our debugger, and the phrase still says change me there. Let's step in. Yeah, the input has changed me. Okay. The phrase is success. Maybe I needed to change the success before we got to that call. Let me try that again, because I'm interested as to how we can do that. So we'll submit change me again. We hit our breakpoint. We get to rot13. Before we get to the rot13, can we change this phrase now? Or did I need? Maybe I needed to do it at the last stage there. Okay. Console. Let's do the same. Phrase equals success. Back to our debugger. Can we? No, don't do that. Okay. Let's resume. The phrase is success, but it's onto the MD5 now, and it's taken the old variable. Okay, let's just hit play. Let's do that one more time, and this time we're gonna do the get element. So we'll hit play, and now before it gets to the rot13, we'll go to our console and we'll set phrase equals success. We'll go back to our debugger. It still says phrase has changed me, but if we hit play, you'll see now the phrase is success, and now if we step in, the phrase is now success. So if we hit play, presumably we'll get to the end there, and we got the phrase wrong because we never actually updated the phrase that was in here, but we did get the token right, I guess. Anyway, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I'm no expert with the Firefox debugger, but it seems absolutely crazy to me that you can't just modify variables in the debugger. But yeah, anyway, that's that done. We've solved the challenge. We played around with the debugger for a bit. Let's change the security level to medium, and let's see what's changed. So if we check the help section here, we'll see that the medium level says the JavaScript has been broken out into its own file and then minimized. You need to view the source for the included file and then work out what it's doing. Both Firefox and Chrome have a pretty print feature which attempts to reverse the compression and display code in a readable way. So let's, as it says, the code's in a separate file, so we shouldn't have so the script won't be inline. This is the login page. If we try to view the source, it's a login page. Let me go back to another challenge. Okay. Interesting. Well, what we'll do then is, for some reason we can't right click and view source. Let's view the source up here. And this also redirects to the login. Okay. Interesting. Well, let's view source here then. So we have this medium .php, which is loading the source from our JavaScript medium.js, which is the function here. As they mentioned, it's been minimized, so it's just a little bit harder to read. So what we can do is we can open up our DevTools and go to the debugger. We can select the external JavaScript file, and we have the code here. You can see down at the bottom we'll have a little button here. We can pre-print source. Click that and we'll get the code here. We can also, depending on what IDE you use, I use VS Code or VS Codium, which is just VS Code with without some tracking packages and things in it. So if we were to do codium new.js and paste that in, I have it set to auto format and paste. You can set it to auto format and paste or auto format and save, and there it's formatted the code into a more readable way for us. You can also just do this, find something online and say JS beautifier. There's one in my favorites. And if we paste in the code, there we have the result. Be aware that obviously anything that you paste into these isn't necessarily private, so keep passwords and things like that out of your scripts. And now that we've checked that, let's see what the script's actually doing. Okay, so we have the code here. We have a function called do something, and then another function called do else something. We have this function which is executing on a timeout, so after 300 milliseconds it's going to call do else something, and it's going to pass in XX to this do else something function, which will then assign the token value to equal do something. So it's going to call this function with XX and the phrase value and XX. So it's going to be XX change me is going to be passed into this do something function, and it's going to run through this loop doing some concatenation. Each time it's appending this en to t, and it's returning t. So let's set a breakpoint on it. We'll set a breakpoint here, Control and B, and then we'll submit the change me and see what happens. So we submit change me. See here we've paused on a breakpoint, and if we want to step into it, we can do F11. We step in here and we see that the parameter that was passed was, as we knew there, it's going to be XX change me and then XX. And now we're going to go through this loop. So if we just keep doing F11, we're going through here. Let's see if we can see a bit more here. We're going through. We have t at the beginning is equal to nothing, as it is at the moment, and n is currently undefined. Let's hit F11 again. N is now 11 because n was set to the length of this string, and t is still empty. Let's hit F11 again, and F11 again, we now get an X. Keep going, we've got 10. Let's hit it a few times. We can start to see that looping through, and we can see that it's actually reversing the string. T is beginning to fill up with the reverse of change me XX. So it goes through that whole loop, we get to the end of it, and it's going to return the T is now equal to complete opposite of change me. And it's assigning this value to then the token.value. And there we go. So essentially we're probably going to want to assign our let's go back and try and do this with a different phrase. Let's hit play just so that continues, because we got the phrase wrong in that case. Let's do success and let's submit that. We get here, we have XX, we have the get element. You see it's changed phrase to change me. So whenever it gets here, it's going to try and get the phrase, and then it's quickly going to be changed. So let's set phrase equals is it set? Let me go back to the debugger there. We're going to set the document.get element by ID phrase is equal to success. And now let's go back to our debugger and step in, and we can see that XX success has been passed in. Let's just hit play, let it do the reversing for us, and we see that we got invalid token there. Okay, let's see what the token is. Okay, is it expecting, is it okay, let's go back and let's run through that again. Let's set our phrase is equal to success. Go back to our debugger and we're going to step in again. Just going to run through that. In fact, we'll get to the end. It's returned this value. Let's see if we can now set this to equal. You can see whenever I type that in, it shows that what it currently equals. Let's try and set it to XX success XX and go back and continue our execution, and we still get invalid token. Okay, what's it looking for the token value to be? Let me check that again. Success, okay. Okay, so if we try this again, let's try and do change me. Submit that, we get the phrase is wrong. If we check that on our burp suite, we see that, okay, it actually sent the token as success. Didn't say anything about the token being incorrect, I guess. Oh, we're pausing a breakpoint. Let's hit play. So it sent off the request anyway. The response was still, you got the phrase wrong. Let's do that again, as the token should now be updated. And we got the phrase wrong, but this time we have our token. So if we were to change this to success and submit that, just keep going past our breakpoint, it's sent with the change me value. If we were to do this again with, let's put success in there again, submit, and let's go here and set our, as we had done, set the phrase value, because it's changed the phrase value again, set that to success again. Go back to our debugger. We'll be able to see in here, if we step in, we can see this is set to XX success as it should be, and we can start looping through that. But if we check our HTTP headers, we'll see that the request has already been sent with this token, and we didn't intercept it, we didn't modify it or anything like that. So that's even if we change the token here, that's not fixing it for us essentially. So we'll hit play there. We get invalid token. We inspect our element and we see that the token, it should be the correct token. Let's try and submit again, and we get well done. So we had to get back that token. Another way we could have done this challenge would have just been to let's remove our breakpoints, deactivate breakpoints, or you can go here, you can remove them. Another way obviously to do this would have been let's set it to change me again. We've got it on change me, set it on success, invalid token, let's set it on success again, and let's just intercept the traffic, submit that. We get the traffic, it's at change me, so we don't have the value that we wanted there, but we could potentially as well, let's check our, so we could say do something and pass it in our XX success, and you can see here we just get the reverse of it straight away. In fact, what was our other function? We had the do else something, so we could say do else something and pass in XX, and okay, that's going to set a breakpoint on there. We'll hit play. Okay, well that was just an example that we could. I'll do the do else something. Oh, sorry, the do something. We'll do the do something. We'll pass in XX success XX. We'll grab that string. We'll go back to burp suite, and then we'll forward that request. And there we get well done. So through a combination of the debugger and the console and intercepting the traffic, we can quite easily do that. We could have also just sent that to the repeater as well to play around with it. But obviously the challenge is focusing on JavaScript, so it's kind of how we could do that without JavaScript. So we can do that as well. It was just a case of we needed to change the token and then submit the value. So let's I thought it disabled the breakpoints. Let's remove all. Just want to make sure they're gone. Resend that. And they are, yeah, okay, cool. So that's how we solve the medium difficulty. Let's change the security level to high and solve the final difficulty. Alright, so we have a look at the help section now and see what's changed. We'll find that the JavaScript has been obfuscated by at least one engine. You're going to need to step through the code to work out what's useful, what is garbage, and what is needed to complete the mission. We have some spoilers here, which even without looking at, it's highlighted the links to some deobfuscators. So let's go and have a look at the source code. View the source, and yep, it's looking a lot more obfuscated. Let's take a copy of that first of all, and as we did previously, let's try and open it up in Codium. Say Codium new.js. We'll save this in here, save that, and yeah, that's not much of a oh, okay, it did deobfuscate a bit down here. Alright, so it's deobfuscated some. We still have this big long variable, which is going to be this var a, which is going to be used right here. So obviously there's going to be some, and we have an eval function, so there's going to be some more steps in this. So let's close that down for now. Let's see what we've got available to us. So let's just look for JS Deobfuscation. See what free tools we've got available to us online. We've got this deobfuscate javascript.com. We have a JavaScript Deobfuscator and Unpacker as well here on GitHub. We have an obfuscator tool, which we can see if there's a deobfuscate option. We have an unpack here as well, into a readable form. Okay, illuminate JS, good JavaScript. Okay, we've got a few to be working away with. Let's leave it at that for now. Let's make sure I've got this copied. Let's check out as well the Firefox DevTools and see how it's looking here. So it's in an external file again, and if we try and pretty print, basically the same as Codium, gives us a slightly better. So we could trace through some of this with the breakpoints, and we'll do that as well. But let's see what we can do here with the deobfuscation. Paste that in, deobfuscate. Okay, so this has given us quite a different looking version. Let's copy that and go to Codium again, and let's see what we've got. Okay, so this is looking a lot more readable. Still not completely, but we might not need all of this. So it did say work out what's useful and what isn't. We have some SHA-256 hashing. We might not need to understand all of the hashing code necessarily. Okay. Yeah, there is a lot of code there. This was the, where were those strings? Okay. I mean, the important bit for us here, we have a function called do something. So this looks like a lot, all of this up here looks like a lot of crypto stuff going on. But let's try and trace this backwards without getting too scared of the 450 lines of code up here. Let's see what's going on down here. So we have the do something function, which is called here. This is token part 1, and it says document get element by ID, token value is equal to, and it's calling do something with the phrase value. And this is just doing the same thing as last time then. It's reversing, you can see this is the exact same code. It's reversing the phrase, first of all, and then it's going to return that. Then token part 2 is going to set the token value to equal, when is that called though? Okay, so we have a timeout here, and it says it's going to put XX token part 2. It's going to get a SHA-256 of XX token value, and then the token part 3 is going to get a, it's going to do, okay, it's going to add ZZ to the end of it, and then SHA-256. And this one was doing, the token 2 was doing YY. Okay. And then we also have this token part 1, it passes in the ABCD and 44. Alright, let's that's it deobfuscated really. Just out of interest, let's see what some of those other tools look like. So let's grab our source code again. Can grab this version of it, and we checked out deobfuscatejavascript.com. We also have this one. Okay, that one's not doing too much for us. Still kept all of this in strings. Let's see, did it give us an option? We have none here. Can we set this to eval? Yeah, okay. So whenever we execute the eval, it's giving us all the crypto code. This is just the SHA-256 code. We don't need to reverse engineer any of that. All we need is this bit at the bottom. What would have happened if we pasted it in here. We can do some oh, this is an obfuscator. Not too sure where the deobfuscator is there then. Okay, let's try this one. Deobfuscate, that one didn't do too much for us unless there's some additional options. Maybe there are some additional options to... No, don't see any. Okay, well the first one worked for us well. Presumably as well the second one worked for us as well, and this I think was available as a GitHub tool as well. Okay, cool. So let's close some of these down. Let's go back and try and work out what's going on here, and let's check out the debugger as well. So the issue here is that we still have our original code in the hi.js. It's not the deobfuscated code that we have here. So in terms of debugging here, if we were using Chrome, there is a way that we can quite easily just specify the source. Let me just bring up this article. There's an article here, how to make changes in browser developer tools to persist after the page reload, and it describes how you can use an override and basically provide a new hi.js and with the deobfuscated code, and then you select that as an override so that every time the page loads, it uses the deobfuscated code, which means then we could just trace through the code here. We can't just paste our code in. You know, this is the external file. So it would be really, really cool if we could do something like that in Firefox. Unfortunately, we can't. I'll bring up this Bugzilla. I was trying to find if there was a similar way to do this. So you can specify another source, and it's designed for this specifically in case a file is minified. So in case it's basically obfuscated, it allows developers to define a path for define a source map. The problem with that is you have to, in order to define the source map, you have to define it in the JavaScript file itself, which if I'm not the developer and I don't have access to this JavaScript file, I can't go and specify that source in there. So it'd be really cool if you could do that. Apparently, you know, this was discussed over the past 7 years. It's been 2 years ago it was suggested as an enhancement, 3 years ago for DevTools, but yeah, apparently Chrome can do it. Chrome have been able to do it for many years. Firefox for some reason, Mozilla I don't know, behaving like Microsoft did in the Explorer. But yeah, so we can go and do this in Google Chrome, and maybe we'll go and do that shortly. Let's for now, let's see how we can potentially do this. So we could use our burp suite to intercept the request. If we go to burp, we'll need to set our proxy options up. So the proxy options, we would say that here we have intercept client requests, and you see it's set to if it doesn't match, and it has a list here. JS is one of them, so we would untick that, and we could say intercept. Let's refresh the page. It'll intercept our request. We'll forward that one. We'll forward that one. We'll forward that one. We'll forward that one. Oh, okay. Go back actually. Let's intercept our server requests, server responses, sorry. So intercept our server responses, just tick that as well. By the way, something which I haven't mentioned before, which we could have actually been doing on this DVWA, is you can set this to enable disabled form fields, to unhide form fields and prominently highlight, to remove input field length limits. So some of these challenges we've had to go and do that stuff manually. Remove JavaScript form validation. So there's remove the secure flags from cookies. So there's a lot of cool things you can do automatically here, and the same with headers. You can like set this to automatically match and replace headers, things like that. So enable that. Go back to our intercept. Let's refresh this again. Take a copy of our code, and we'll forward that. This is returning our main page. That's fine. Forward that. Forward that. Forward that. Okay. We actually don't want to intercept, but let me try that again. Forward, not interested in the WebSockets. Let's go to another page. Turn off intercept, turn on intercept, and let's try to load JavaScript. Okay, maybe it's because the resource is cached. Okay, something we could do as another way around this, in this example, would potentially, we have our new JS saved here. Let's do python-m http.server1337. So we're serving that JS now. Let's go to burp, and in the options that we were looking at there, we had the match and replace. So we have a match and replace here. Let's say match and replace in the body, and we want to, let's see what we want to match here. Let's look for the hi.js. We want to match this URL, and we want to replace it with HTTP 127.0.0.1 port 1337/new.js, and that should do. Hit OK, see if that's ticked. It is ticked, and let's see if that works. I'm going to turn intercept off, and I'm going to load the page again, and the script source is still showing the same there. You see it's showing us the hidden token though, based on the other option that we enabled. If we go to our debugger, we still have the same thing here. Okay. We got no request to our HTTP server there either. I think I realized what I did wrong there. Let's go back. We have this set to our request body. If we go to our HTTP history, you'll see that here's our request. It's our response that we're trying to modify the JS file in. So let's set the option, go back and edit that. Just change that to response body, and we'll try that. Okay. Intercept. Let's try it again. We've loaded. We don't have a hi.js. That's good. Let's see, do we have a new JS? And we do, yeah, it's loaded the new JS. If we check here, we've made a request to new JS. Awesome. Let's go to our debugger. And then our debugger now has new.js in it. And it has our deobfuscated code. That's all our hashing stuff, but down at the bottom is the bit we're interested in. Let's go back to burp, and if we check our HTTP history as well, we'll see that where was the request? It made this request here, and you can see that if we go down to our response body, where's the script? We have the script in here. The script actually shows there as hi.js, but that's the original response. If I go and check here, auto modified response, you'll see that the script now shows, where is the script? There it is, new.js. Okay, and that's how we can, that's one method of getting this done. As I say, we could do that a lot easier in Google Chrome. You can follow this guide to do that. I'm not gonna go through that because I mostly just through habit use Firefox, and we found another way to achieve our goal. So let's try and debug this. So let's set some breakpoints at our different functions. We have our token part 1 here. Let's do Control and B. We have our token part 2. Let's do Control and B there. Token part 3 is called whenever there's a click event. So I'm just going to set that. I'm going to set that here just so we can see when that's called. And is that it? Token 1, 2, and 3. Okay, do something is going to be called by. Where is do something called? Let's go back here. Do something is called by token part 1. Okay, yeah, cool. So we've set a few breakpoints there. Let's set our phrase equal to success and submit it. We get our first breakpoint here, which is that function token part 3. Okay. It's saying get element by ID token. The value is equal to SHA-256 of the token value plus Y, which is ZZ. Okay. So let's step over that and okay, that was called by the click. So token part 3 was called because we clicked submit there, I guess. And the value that it's not returned a value. It set the get element by ID token value. Is equal to Y. What's Y? Y is ZZ plus. Oh yeah, is equal to token value plus Y. Okay. Let's see out of interest here. If we paste that in, so there's our value. It's the SHA-256 value here. So it's the SHA-256 of what the token value was plus ZZ. All right, let's step over that, and now we get down to token part 1, which is saying, well, where have we stopped here? Yeah, token part 1. Let's step into it. We step in there. It's taking in A, B, C, D, and the 44, and we have get element by ID token value is equal to do something with the phrase value. Our phrase value is set to nothing at the moment. So let's set this equal to success. Let's go back to our debugger and let's step into that. We now passed in success. If we hadn't have passed in success, this looks like the reverse that we did earlier, where it reversed our value. But if it's checking the length here and our length it passed in nothing, then it wouldn't have returned anything. So if we hit F11, start going through that, we can see, is it reversing again? Yep. So it's reversing our string, and then once it's finished reversing, it returns the reversed result. And let's see where our breakpoint goes to now. Let's hit play. We've got the token part 2 now, and it's passing in the value XX to this token part 2. It also did it. Let's check the phrase value there. It's still set to success. Okay. Let's step in. It's getting a SHA-256 of the token value of XX plus the token value. Oh no, sorry, there's YY. It's taking in YY. E equals YY. Okay, let's see what happens there. Okay, returned XX, or that this is being passed through to the SHA function, which I'm going to step out of. We don't want to go through all of that code. And we've now got to the end of that. Let's see what values we have here. This is still set to success. The token is set to nothing at the moment. Okay, token value is right there. And I hit play there, so our final token value is a 7F1BF, which is what we have here. Let's submit that. Well done. So remember with the previous example, what we did there is we went through and correctly generated a token, but we then needed to submit with the correct token to get back our well done. I hope that makes sense there. Let me open the debugger again. So we could have calculated this manually as well. We can work out what's happening here. So the token part 1, well, it actually did token part 3 first, didn't it? So let's do that one more time. Success. Submit. We submit success. It stops token part 3. So token part 3 is right here, and it says take a SHA-256 of the token value plus y, which is ZZ. And in that case, the token value is, well, it's the SHA-256 now. What was it previously? Oh no, it's the token it's the token that's already in there. Okay, go back to our debugger. It's we'll hit play to get to our next breakpoint. Oh, it didn't stop at the next breakpoint because we didn't have the value assigned there. Remember, it clears the value. So if we were to set this to, let's go back and let's say this equals success, and let's try and submit here. Oh, it did continue with those. Okay. Alright, well, let's try anyway and resume that. Let's do success, submit. Okay, I guess it has to reload that. Okay, well, essentially anyway, we're going let's say the phrase is equal to success. We're getting the token part 3, which was the SHA-256. We then get the, was it the token part 2 next? Actually, let's double check this. Success, submit. Yeah, token part 3, play, and then we have token part 1. So it gets token part 3 here, SHA-256 with the ZZ. It does token part 1, which calls do something, which gets us the reverse of our word success. And then it'll call then token part 2, which is going to get the SHA-256 of YY plus our token value. So I hope that made some sense. I probably didn't explain that ideally, but hopefully demonstrated going through some of this debugging a little bit and the deobfuscation anyway. We've successfully defeated this challenge, so let's go and set the security level to impossible and see what's changed. Okay, so it says here you can never trust anything that comes from a user or prevent them from messing with it, so there is no impossible level. Okay, and that's essentially what we have there as well. Source code, just nothing. Okay, that was a nice easy one. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, any comments, then leave them down below. Any cool tricks, you know, with the Firefox DevTools, I would be interested to know. Maybe there's easier ways to modify things that you're debugging, or load custom sources if you want to, like, if we were trying to deobfuscate code and things like that. But yeah, let me know.